Baruch haba, welcome everyone to our class on Der Tfunos. Baruch Hashem, we went through the Sefer and analyzed it, and now we're going to do some applications, which is the most important part of understanding the Sefer, because, as I said many times, the Der Tfunos can stay as a hypothetical Sefer, and when we're learning, all of a sudden we're back to our natural way of learning. So what we're trying to do here is actually apply the Sefer, and just as we normally do, just a brief overview here. The most important part that we're going to be doing is concentrating on the first part of Der Tfunos, in which he lays out the system. What we have to do, he tells us, really in Seder, is we have to understand the Pulas HaSeichel and realize that those Pulas HaSeichel are the underpinnings of the Ma'aseh Matan. The goal of the Ma'aseh Matan of the Gemara is to determine the truth of a statement, and that can only be done through this back and forth debating process, making sure that we're really understanding the message that's being delivered. The point here is not to win the debate. The point is to clearly understand what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. So we have the 7 Chelkei Ma'aseh Matan, the Memer Shel Tshuva, Kasha, Teretz, Raya, and Stira, and we have the foundations of thinking. And when it comes to the Seder, how to actually apply the Sefer, so the Ramchal tells us these 4 steps. One was to recognize the language of Mechaber, because what we're going to have to do is interpret everything we read into its essential statement. What is it meaning? This is called Der Tfunos, understanding what is it meaning, not the physical words being used necessarily, but what is the import, what is the meaning of those words. And in order to do that, we're going to have to know the style of the author, because depending upon the style and the meaning of the message of the words could change. And for instance, if it's a rhetorical style, it means just the opposite of what's being said. He's a chacham means he's not a chacham, it's said rhetorically, etc. So the first thing we have to do is understand the style. And then, really, that's a precursor to getting down to the essential statement that's being said, which is what's being said, what's the no-say, what's being said about it, what's the nasu, and is it being said in Mekayim or Shli? Is it saying this subject has this predicate or does not have the predicate? That's always the bottom line. Now, after we understand what's being said, so then we have to say, okay, now what is the purpose of the statement? And that's where we need our 7 Chelkei Ma'aseh Matan. Is it simply a statement, or is it a question, answer, etc.? After we understand what the aim of our statement is and what's its function, what it's doing there, then we have to fill in all the details till we can get down to the proofs being offered whether the statement is true or not. So we have to understand the Chelkei Ma'aseh Matan, the Chelkei of the Ma'amarim. We have to understand the Tachlis, which was the 7th, and then we have to understand how it gets to that Tachlis, which means how, if it's a proof, what are all the statements that the proof is based on. And then he wants us to get down to the basic place where we can't go anymore, the axiomatic things like a pasuk. Once we have a pasuk, so that's the end of our journey. That's what we base ourselves on. Or if we have a statement of a Tana or a Mara that we can't argue with, so that will be the ground rules. That will be the ground zero, so to speak. Okay, so that's basically what we're trying to do here. We're going to try to determine what is the nosei nasu, and then we're going to try to find out what the tachlis of the nosei nasu is, and then we'll try to fill in all the steps of the proofs. So we have statements, we have what's the intended statement, what's the function of the statement, and then what's the proof that the statement is true or false. Those are the three things that we're going to be looking for. Okay, so let's go to our.
So we're going to be following this process. We're going to try to find.
Yes.
This. Okay.
This is what we're trying to do. I want it to be very, very simple. What is the statement? What is it doing here? What's its function? And then, what's the proof that the statement is true or false? Okay, those are the three things: statement, function, and proof. Okay, we'll talk about the havchana, which, in other words, I'll bring it up. We'll say, okay, now what aspect are we talking about in the statement? But that basic focus will be those 3 points. Okay, so let's get to our. How do we do that again? There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. Here's my little chart, and it doesn't have all of tfunos. It really has the function. So we're going to have to fill in, you know, the subject and predicate and what type of subject and predicate it is. And of course, we're concentrating on this Gemara, so that we'll be familiar with the information. And we'll see the different aspects of it. The interesting thing will be when we compare this with the Dr. Gemara in our analysis. So we said in our Mishnah that there's 4 types of avos nazikin, categorical forms of damage: the shor, the mav, and the hever. And we said that these 4 types have to be written because I could not derive one from the other, so they really are unique. And they do have some common qualities. The Gemara will describe what cases that comes to include. And when a person has one of these items and it does do damage, so then he has to pay the damage, the person who damaged with the best of his land. And that's basically the Mishnah. Now, the Gemara focuses on the word avos. We said in Dr. Gemara, actually, that Tiktuk Lashon is the beginning of all. So the last time we approached this Gemara, we noticed that the Gemara makes a diuk. It says, Mi vikatane avos miklal deika tovos. Since the Mishnah used the term avos, arba avos nazikin, okay, we can now make an inference. The Ramchal describes 2 types of inferences, mukhrach and built-in mukhrach, and the mukhrach ones are the mathematical ones, but the built-in mukhrach ones are based on the use of language, like here. The word av is a relative word. We said you can't have an ava without children. You can have a husband without children. You can't have an ava without children. So by the fact that the Mishnah chose the word av, it's an indication that there must be toldos. That was the first move, and we mentioned that this is actually a statement and a proof. We said the statement was that Nizikin has toldos, and the proof is the fact that the proof comes from the language expressed in the Mishnah is av, which is a relative word. It's a muskal rishon that an av implies that there must be children. So that's what we analyzed this text the last time we did it. And we also mentioned that it's a very big Kiddush because it's just interesting to note that if you look at the Mishnayos in the Zikin, it doesn't spell out what the toldos are. They're all spelled out. We're going to see in braces. So the Gemara wants to mechadesh to us that this word av is going to mean that these avos have toldos. They do have derivatives. It just doesn't stop at the avos. And now it's going to investigate that that concept. Okay, so here is the second thing the Mishnah, the Gemara says. Toldos, kiyotze behen olav. Go ahead, please. I'm glad you interrupted.
So the first statement is a raya.
The first statement.
Okay.
Let me break it up into two parts. First, what is the? Let's go over that. Okay, I said it quickly. What really is the statement, and what is the proof here? Okay, it's a statement and a proof. Normally, we just said this is just a inference, but we said it's not an inference. It is an inference, but it really every inference starts with a statement, and the question is, let's say that again. What statement is being offered here? What statement is being said here? Okay, so you say, oh, the words say mi dikatani avos miklali katodos, right? But what really is trying to be said here? When you get down to the sof gezerah of this.
So the sof gezerah is, I mean, the ultimate goal of the statement is to tell you that there are toldos here. So
okay, so how would you say that? How would you create a no say and a nasu that says just what you said?
Okay, so if I was going to create it, so you would probably just say well, you would really ask a question. You would say, what are the toldos of the avos that are mentioned in this Mishnah?
That would be the second level question. But
right.
When I say midikatani avos miklal equal toldos, yeah, what would be what's the statement right, and what's the proof?
So the statement of midikatani avos is telling you that since it said that there are avos, so that is indicating to us that there has to be toldos.
So what statement do we want to establish? You're saying in natural language, you're saying 100% correct. But we're trying to do it in technical language. What is the statement here and what is the proof? There's a statement and proof here.
So the statement is that I mean, to say it in English, there are toldos because
okay. Now the word there are toldos. The word there are toldos. Okay, you have to spell that out. Really, if I had to spell it out, I would say that nezikin, the category of nezikin has toldos. Okay.
Okay, so I left that right. The category of nezikin, right.
That's the subject. The subject here is the klal of nezikin. Okay, or you say. I don't even know what it's called. There's 4 different pratim here, so maybe it's each one. But nezikin, damages mentioned in the Torah, have toldos. Okay, where are we getting this from? We're only getting it from the Torah, even though Rashi is going to indicate that. But in other words, nezikin has toldos. Okay, now how do we know nezikin has toldos? What's the proof that nezikin has toldos?
Because it says in our Mishnah that is telling us about nezikin that there are avos, that there are avos nezikin.
Right. The use of the term avos is an indicator that there must be toldos. Okay. So the proof is that the Mishnah used the word avos. Now, how is that a proof? So we said it's a muskal rishon. That means it's already a basis of language that the word av implies toldo. Okay, It's called a mila yachasi. It's a word of, it's one of our bechinos of yachas. It's a word that describes a yachas, right? A relationship. So the other half of the relationship must be there, because the proper rules of language is that you don't use a word that is a relative word, a relationship word, if it's not a relationship.
Right.
Okay. So basically, what we want to prove, and this is the difficult thing of applying the Sefer, because you have to recast what you're learning here. The aim of this statement is to prove that Nezikin has avos. So the statement on the floor is, excuse me, Nezikin has toldos. That's what the statement is. Nezikin has toldos. The proof comes from the fact that the Mishnah employs the term avos. Why is that a good proof? Because it's a muskal rishon that you cannot use the term av unless you are producing a tolda. Okay?
So then the no-say here would be Nezikin. The nasu is that it has toldos, and then there's a proof, and the proof is from the fact that it says others.
Right. So you notice that the Mishnah only spoke about the proof. It didn't talk about the original statement, right? The Mishnah says, Midikani avos mikladi ketoldos. It's telling you the proof that there's toldos. You with me?
Yes.
If you look at the physical words say Midikani avos mikladi. That's the proof already. So we have to provide, well, what statement is it a proof to? That's all. And why is it a good proof? Those are the two steps. So we said that the statement that we want is that Nezikin has toldos, and the proof is from the fact the Mishnah employed the term avos, and the foundation of that proof, one step deeper, is a muskal rishon, that the word av implies a child. Okay, and now we're on the bottom floor, because you can't go further than that. That's muskal rishon, means that's how the mind is set up. You don't use the word. Now, we can remember the Ramchal said the weakness in a inference based on language is that it is possible always to push it off. Okay, what does that mean? Later on, the Gemara is going to say, other people hold it, there's 13 types of, or 21 types of damages. They include shomrim and motzi shemra and all these other forms of, when a shomer doesn't watch properly and the thing gets lost. So it's a damage, geneva, gazela, all these other forms of destroying property. And it uses the term av over there. Rav Shin uses the term av. So Gemara says, what's going on? In our Mishnah, we can understand this diuk that avos mikladi told but in these two brises, there's no told us of shomrim, and shomrim, shomachinam, shomasacha. There's no told us for that. So they say the word av there is just being employed because it refers to things which are written in the Torah as a secondary use of the word av. So the Ramchal warned us that when we're using diukim in language, we can always find reasons, I know always, but many times we may find reasons why the language is not mukhrach. That's why he says this type of diuk is called bilti mukhrach, because I could show you for a special reason that they're using the term. However, that doesn't take away from the fact that the primary use of this term av doesn't apply Toda. It could be that the Brises are using it in a secondary sense, but the primary use is what it is. So I just wanted to bring up here again another application of the Ramchal. The Ramchal, when it came to diukim, he said there were muchrachim diukim and bilti muchrachim diukim. The muchrachim diukim were mathematical. Okay, arba was nezikin. If it's not nezikin, it doesn't have arba avos. That's true. No, nezikin has arba avos. If it doesn't arba avos, it's not the category of nezikin. That's mukhrach. Okay. If all A is B, then then anything that's not a B is not an A. That's Mukhrach. And he went through the built-in Mukhrach, doing to the Mukhrach ones. But the point here is that when you understand what Ramchal has done, so you realize that this is a deal based on language, and we may be able to push it off for some side reason. Okay, it doesn't mean that it's not the primary reason, but and he also warned us that when it comes to language, Ramchal said, there's also things called lashon meshutaf. The same word can be used in two different senses, like here, the word av. It has a primary meaning that this told us, and it has a secondary meaning that could mean that it's just coming from the Torah. As far as we're concerned, what we did here is we, instead of just saying over the Gemara, which we understood naturally, we said, wait a minute, what step is this Gemara doing? You see, this is step number 2. This is a proof to something. What is it a proof to? That Nezikin does have told us. And the proof came from the use of the term avos. Now that's very, very important, because a proof means that something was not obvious. You don't bring proof to things which are obvious. Okay? And as we said, the fact that they're told us in Nezikin is not obvious. At a deeper level, we'll see that this mission never talks about the toldos. Throughout the Mishnayos, we don't see the toldos. So the only flag, the only indicator that there are toldos hangs on this word avos. Okay? So when we analyze the text, we said that there's a statement here that Nezikin does have toldos, so we said that's a chiddush. Because the toldos are not mentioned here anywhere else. And we said the proof that that's hanging on is the fact that the word av is used, and that's Amelia Yachasi. Okay? So you see how deep we just got just by a simple statement that normally when you read the Gemara, you'd say, oh, avos must be toldos, let's go on to the next question. Okay? Right. But by doing what we did, we realized here that this important issue being discussed. Okay? Let's go a little further. So now that we've established through a proof that there are toldos, what does the Gemara do here? In this next line. Okay, you have the floor on it.
So now the Gemara is asking a shaila. Now that we know that there are toldos, we brought proof. So now we're going to ask a shaila whether the toldos are like the avos or not. Yeah. So the nose here is toldos, right? We're asking about what we're saying. The statement is with regard to toldos, and we're asking if those toldos are like avos or not like avos. Kiyetzaben or lav kiyetzaben.
So now I was thinking of another thing. You expressed it as it expressed here as a question, and it probably is a question. Could we take a question and turn it into a statement?
Well, then a statement would be, you would be saying that either you would say toldos are not like the avos, or toldos are like the avos, or you could say, I don't know if toldos are like the avos, but I think that, I don't know if you have any other choices.
Right. But we are really saying, though, oh, exactly. It seems that we're saying the toldos are either like the avos or not like the avos. Is that correct?
Right.
And now, eventually, I would like you to prove the toldos in the Nezikin, are they like the avos or not? That's what I really would like you to prove, correct?
Right.
I'm making a statement that the toldos are either like the avos or not like the avos. That's a statement I'm making. Okay? And 1 second, the Gemara is going to prove that those are the two possibilities. And then I would like you to determine which of those two possibilities are true. Okay? So my statement is the toldos and the Nezikin are either like the avos or not like the avos. That's a statement I would make from the question that's being asked. Correct?
Right.
Now, what type of statement is that? of the 11 predicates. What type of statement?
Oh, that I don't remember. I don't remember all 11.
Oh, okay. Go look in the book. I know we're just. I don't even care if we keep this as a recording. I don't want to. The point here is to actually use this as a chazara. So look at the 11 types and tell me which one it is. If the statement is the told us the Masikin are either like the Avos or not like the Avos, what type of statement would it be?
Okay, so that would be a, okay, let's see, which one? Let's just go through them. So we have the Maimus, not a Maimus Tam, it's not a Miyached, which again is the, well,
It's not saying Vada, okay, it's not saying Vada Safek Mania. That's a possibility.
so it is, okay, so what are we trying to say? We're trying to say that Avos are like the Toldos, or not like the Toldos.
Yes.
Right?
Others are either excuse me, not others.
So it would be
Toldos. That's the no say.
Are like Avos, and it would be a Medama.
That's true. It is. They're either Medama to the Av or not Medama. That's true. It is a Medama, but it's more than a Medama. We said we can have now multiple uses here. It's true. It's a Medama. We have multiple types. We can build statements together. So you're right. It's a Medama. It's very good because it says Ki Yotzibo, so it must be like the Av, yeah. But it says O. What type of statement is an O statement?
Oh, so, let's see, which one was that? I should have gone over this, but
no, that's not. We'll do it in real lifetime. It's okay. Everybody has the same problem, but because it's only little details, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. So, what is the O?
I don't know which one. I don't remember which one that is. Let's see. I'll look up in the Sefer.
Okay, let's get the Sefer here. Here we go.
Oh, you got it right there. Okay. I have it in front of me in a hard copy.
Yeah, why not? Oh yeah, you can do it in hard copy.
What parak is it? We're in parak.
Here we go. Parak Gimel.
Parak Gimel.
I was using the regular chart here, and I didn't make my Visio chart here.
So I have your paper chart out, the old paper, the Sefer King.
Oh, very good. So look at the paper chart. You remember the exact wording there.
Right, so I'm going down the list. I have the 11,
very
2,
good.
3, 4. Right, so you have the Miyached, the Mamayit.
Right. It's not a miyut. It's not.
Right. It's not a
motzi. It's not a motzi. It's not saying.
It's not a mutbol. Is it? It's not talui.
Right. It's not
Is it
Merub
Inyamin?
What does Merub Inyamin mean?
So it says here, Kol Oisem Hanasuim B'Nosei Oy B'Chol Oisem Hanoisim Oisei Hanasu.
Merub Inyamin. Okay, it's very simple. Merub Inyamin. Yeah. Go ahead. What do you think?
The reason why I don't think it's Merub Inyamin is because you're trying to find that if the Toldos you want to say if you would say that a tolda is like an av. So
That's one, but the statement doesn't. That's not the whole. That's not the whole statement. That's half the statement.
Right. The statement
There's a key word there.
Is it like right?
The key word here,
like an av or like a tolda? Is it tolda like an av or is it tolda not like an av?
So the key word is an or.
Right.
It's either A or B. It's either like the av or it's not like the av.
Right.
Right? So we said in Merubin Yonim you have an and an or. There's two types of Merubin Yonim. What's the difference between an and an or?
An and is inclusive, and or is one is exclusive. Or it's either one or the other.
That's right. That's correct. Right? So this is an or, and it seems as if according to what the Gemara is saying, that the toldos of Mazikin are either A or B. Correct? So that's a Merubin Yonim of the O type. Okay, of the either type.
Right.
Not the and type, but the either type. Okay,
Right.
so really Merubin Yonim is the ands, and then the only thing with ands is you have equals and unequal ands. Sometimes one is a Kiddush and one is not. Okay, either the first one or the second one. That's the ands. The ands should be A and B, but sometimes B's it really should be that A and B are both Chidush. Sometimes Lo zu af zu zu ein tzrich lomar, so it means one is a greater Chiddush than the other one. Okay, those are the ands. And then you have the ors, which as you said, it's exclusive. Either A or B is going to be predicated, but not both.
Right.
Okay, so that's what we have here. We have, exactly as you said, we have a Medama statement, but we have two possibilities. It's an or. It's two possibilities. It's either going to be Medama or not going to be Medama.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
So we have a Medama and a Merubin Yonim of the Mechalek type. The Mechalek means it's an A or a B. Okay? Now, why is that so interesting? Yeah, why is that so interesting? So if I said the statement, the statement would be that the toldos of Nezikin are either like the Av or unlike the Av. Okay?
Right.
And that means one of those predicates will be attached to the subject of the toldos of Nezikin, and not the other one. It's A or B.
Right.
So what's going to be the surprise, of course, is Reb Papa's answer. If we go down to Reb Papa's answer, look at Reb Papa's answer over here. Okay, what does Reb Papa say?
He says, Yesh mem ki hitzban, yesh mem lam hitzban.
That's
so
a
he's
surprise, right?
He's saying it's neither. Your question was, is it this or that? He's saying it's neither. Of course, there are some that are and some that aren't.
Right, exactly. So you thought it was a machalek. You thought it was either A or B. And he's telling you it's A and B.
Right.
Some of them, yesh, there's our partial subject. Some of them, we predicate the fact that they're kiyotzibo. And some of them, which is, we predicate that they're not kiyotzibo. So that was a big surprise from the original presentation of the question to Reb Papa's conclusion. Okay? We thought it was things worked universally for some reason. And we have to figure out why that was the Havamina. But the Havamina was that you had to be either one or the other. Not some are and some aren't. And then we're going to go on a long, long search here and try to figure out which ones are and which ones aren't. But by a careful analysis of the question, the difficulty of Reb Papa pops up to us. In other words, why did we think that things work universally? And what does Reb Papa mean that they don't? Okay? But that only comes to a careful analysis. If you just read very quickly through the text, you'll say, oh, the question was, do they have, are they like the Av or not? And the answer is sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But you don't feel the power of the question. We started off in the Chalik, and now we're saying that it's a Merub and Yonim. We're saying that the Todos Nazikin are both Kiyotzi and Anti-Yotzi. So that's a rather big surprise. Okay? Yes. So let's
right, so we said that the question was a Mechalik, but you're saying that's really a Merub in Yanim, but it's one part of the Merub in Yanim?
Yes. Let's go back to that. Let's just do a little review. So we'll.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. You see how it says there, over there?
It says החלק השני מהאמן הזה שיאמר בנושא אחד היסד תלוי בין שני נשואים היוסר להימצא באחד מהם בלבד.
Right. What does that mean?
So he's saying that the Chelek Hasheni, what was the Chelek Harishon? The Chelek Harishon was
what was the Chelek Harishon? Yeah, go ahead. Take your time.
Because he goes back to the Min Hashri'i, which he calls Maimer Ye'amru Bar Shnei Nesuim, or Yoser B'Noisei Echad. That you have two Nesuim or more, and one Nosei. Or Nasu Echad B'Shnei Nosim or Yoser, or one Nasu and Shnei Nosim or more. And it says
so in common language, what does that mean? Let's go slowly through. Let's do a review of that.
Right. So he said you could either
basically, go ahead.
One subject having many predicates. So what was the example that he gave here? That he says Klaya Kerem Asur Milazraya Umilakayim Vasurim Bahana. So we're discussing Klaya Kerem, and we're saying many things about the Klaya Kerem.
That's correct.
So from Milazraya to Milakayim and it's also Bahana.
Right. So it has three Asurim. Zev, Zev, Zev.
Right.
Klaya Kerem has A and B and C. Okay. Right.
And then he said the second part, there was another part, another variation of the first, really, is that you have one nasu, so one predicate that is referring to two different subjects. And then he says that's divided into two halakim. חלק האחד שיאמר הנשואים בנושא יחד, וכן הנשוא בנושאים. And it says the חלק השני, I'm going to skip down where he says that it goes into two branches. That the נשואים הנאמרו בהשוואה, אחת בנושאים, השני שייך מהם יאמר מדרך חידוש, ואחד כמו עניין שכבר נודע. So that's the way.
So basically, So what does that mean? You have an and statement, right?
Right.
And means A, B, and C. A, B, and C could be a subject. A, B, and C could be a predicate, right?
Right.
I could say Shimon, Reuben, Levi are brothers. Or I could say, here, Clay Karma, Asma, Kaim, Bahano, Nisroa, right? It doesn't matter, but it's just it's a multiple group of either subjects or predicates. Correct?
Right.
That's called the and. That's called the and. It can be in either place, the subject or the predicate. So it's called a multiple. Now, in an and, you either have an and or an or. An and means all of them are found in the subject, correct? Or the predicate, depending where the multiplicity is, right? If I say Reuben, Shimon, and Levi are brothers, you know what I mean? So each one, Reuben, Shimon, and Levi, have the quality of being brothers. Right. So, or the other thing is or, right? And or is exclusive. Only one of the multiple subjects or predicates exists. Right? If I say, right? O choletz o yivan. So there's the and, which means they're all present, and there's the or, which means only one of the group is present. Clear?
Yes.
Now, in the and, you have what's called equal and unequal ands. What does that mean? The first one means that all the multiple subjects or predicates are equally a chiddush. You would not learn one from the other. Each one is a new chiddush in and of itself. Okay, that's what we call an equal and. But sometimes you have, he says, an unequal and, where one really is the chiddush and the other one really is known. Now, we don't want to usually say that in learning because it would be unnecessary to write one, right, if they were unequal. But that does happen. Sometimes you have a group of things where one is a bigger chiddush than the other. For instance, he brings this thing of the Bechor. Okay?
Right.
It says the Tam is, it says, Habocha mochrin also. You can sell a Bechor. Tam, chai, you can sell it when it's Tam, you can sell it alive. And the Baal Mum, chai, the shachut. So the fact that you can sell a Baal Mum chai is not a big chiddush, because even the Tam you can sell chai, right? The chiddush really of the Baal Mum is that you can sell it when it's dead. Okay, that you can't do with a Tam. I mean, if a Tam was slaughtered, you can't sell it.
Right.
Okay, so that's called an unequal. There's two predicates here that says the Baal Mum can be sold either chai or shachut, but really the chiddush is that it could be sold shachut. It's true that it could be sold chai, but that's an unequal predication to the subject of Baal Mum. You with me? Because that we know already of a Tam. So basically the and either has an equal and or an unequal and the unequality could be the first or the second, depending if it's a lo zu apsu or zu vein tzrich lo mazu. Are you with me on that? When you have when you have an and, so the chiddush could be the first one or the second one. So basically it breaks down like this: you have an and and an or, and in the and you have an equal and unequal and in an unequal and you can have the chiddush in the beginning, the first or the second part of the unequality.
Right.
That's the whole business. Okay?
I see in the chart that you had it was a little bit difficult to
yeah, I wanted to redo the chart also, but everything takes such a long time. And when I did that chart, I told you my poor wife had to sit there with little squares and tape everything together, you know.
Right.
And then when we did Higayon, we did have like the first version or the second version of Visio. And when somehow it got lost, you know, when I left the yeshiva, I asked for the problem. It got lost somehow in the shift somewhere around the computers. So we could never open up those files, the original files that we did until you gave us the new Visio. Actually it was a NAS. You gave me number 2 or whatever. You gave me an earlier version.
Right.
The earlier version read my version. The later version did not.
Really?
So it was a chesed that you gave me the older version first, because that one actually saved the other files, which were unreadable because they just they dropped those older. Yeah. Anyway, that was the history of that. But so it just has to take work again. I have to put the work in and redo them and make them more clear. But anyway, that's basically once you understand what's going on, it's really an and and or, and in the and you have an equal or unequal and. That's all.
So getting back to our statement here.
So getting back to our statement. Yes. Let's go back to where we're holding.
So therefore it's a merubah inyanim, which is the I. Oh, and then now let's Rav Papa, which we said if it's an I, so why is Rav Papa answering yesh behem ki yetz behem v'yesh behem lav ki yetz behem? You know, or the Maksha should have either asked just a more general question about Avos and Tolos, or a Papa should have stayed on topic well, I guess or you could see from here he disagreed with the Makshin. The Makshin thought that either Tolos, the Avos are going to be like the Tolos are going to be like the Avos, or all Tolos will not be like the Avos. But his answer is, I disagree with you. There are some Avos Tolos that are like Avos, and some Tolos that are not like Avos.
That's right. 100%. So that's a surprise. It definitely is a different worldview than the moksha,
Right.
or the shit,
Right.
the personal. Now, to magdir this better, it's it wasn't really a moksha, it's really the person who has the shela, and the shela was an iboye, right?
Right.
So if we looked at the iboyes, we expect, how do we solve iboyes? What did he tell us over here in our little chart here? We have an iboye, that's number 2. And the response to an iboye is called a peshitus, you see?
Right.
Right? I say A or B, I expect you to tell me A
Right.
and not B, or B and not A. So it's
Right.
you denied my premise.
Right.
I said A or B, and you said no, it's not A or B. Okay,
Right.
so what was the Habmin? The Maskana is very, very interesting here. Now, the Meforshim they really, the Rush, for instance, actually starts with the Rif. They don't understand even how anything could be low Kiyotzibo when it comes to Nezikin. Okay, because it takes a little further on. We're going to learn, and this is the other point. When we learned in Bechinas, I brought this up. I'll say it again. Maybe it'll have more significance now. In the Bechinas, we learned about Siba, the cause of something.
Right.
In learning, we talk about the Sibas Hachiv. Why is a Tolda Chayev or not Chayev? So there's 2 types of Sibot. Let's show you here that again. Okay. Okay. We said here there's something called a Siba Poelis, a Siba Miletus, and a Siba Poelis. What's the difference between a Siba Miletus and a Siba Poelis? A Siba Miletus really is an Av giving birth to a Ben. And it doesn't have to be physical. It can be like here. The fact that we have a pasuk of shore in the Torah is going to give birth to other cases which are similar to shore. Okay? That's called a Siba. That's called a Siba. Excuse me, that's not a Siba Poelis. A Siba Miletus, I'm sorry. That is a Siba Miletus. This is going to give birth to that. What's the difference between a Miletus and a Poelis, he says? A Miletus is something physical, that one causes the other thing, and a Poelis is like a worker who creates a kli. Okay? What's the difference? When someone creates a kli, if you create a vase or something like that, so you are not in it. Okay? You were the cause of it, but you're not in it. So what's the difference over here? So why do I bring this up here? Why do I bring this up here? Because let's look a little at the Gemara now. Everything takes time is a problem, but the Gemara is going to bring now 2 cases. It's going to prove that there's 2 types of toldos in the Chumash. Okay, one is going to be the Shabbos type. Okay, Gabe Shabbos, and Shabbos, Gabe Shabbos, we're going to see the Avos are Kiyotzibo. The Toldos are Kiyotzibo, right? There's no difference if a person does an Av or a Tolda on Shabbos. If it was done b'Shogeg, it's Chatas. If it was done b'Mezid, it's Skila. And the other category that it's going to bring down is the category of Tumah. Tumah is a question of gradation. There's the Aviavos, if you touch the body itself, if you touch the Halal, if you touch the Cherev, the sword that killed the body, and then if the Cherev touches something else, it creates a Tolda, and that touches something else, it creates a Rishon and a Sheni and a Shlishi. So there's a scale of a declining scale. Okay, as you go down the scale, the dinim start changing because you get further away from the makor, which is the dead body itself. Okay, so that is like a Siba Miletus. in the pure sense. For instance, if I heat up a pan, right, that has water in it. So I first heat the pan or the pot, and then after I heat the pot, it heats the water in the pot, right? If I then take the water out of the pot in a ladle, so now the heat went from the fire to the pan to the water, and now it's going into the sides of the ladle, right? And now I pour out the water into a kli sheni, and it's going to go through another cooling down process because it's going to go to the walls, to kli rishon. It's going to go into the walls of the kli rishon, and if I then pour it into a kli sheni, it'll even go further into another cooling process going to the walls of the kli sheni. So the heat, which originally started in the fire, is going to go through madregas of siba and the suba of cause and result. But since it was a siba moletis, one caused the other thing, but there's a gradation every time it goes further down, from the heat of the fire into the pan, from the pan into the water, into ladle, into rishon. So that's a degradation type of siba, and that's really like tumah. But the type that we're talking about, and that's one type of av, because you could say that the fire is the av, it's really the cause of all the heat that ends up in the kli sheni. It all came from the fire. It just was transferred through these various media. But when we're talking about avos and nezikin, it's the type of av that's learned through dimyan, right? It's really a comparison. There's no one is not the cause of the other in the sense of the fire and the heat. Right. It's just that one is compared to the other. Okay, it has a quality of the other. So after this whole big explanation, what's the point? The point is that all of nezikin are learned through dimyan, and they have nothing to do with tumah.
Right.
If I say, always have. If I say, for instance, in Karen is poking with a horn. That's written inside the Torah. Now we're going to learn kicking with the foot from poking with the horn. Now that's a different kli, a different part of the animal that's being used, but it's comparable in the sense that the animal has kavanah lahazik, okay, has intent to do damage. It's not getting any benefit from it. Just wants it's angry, and therefore wants to hurt something. So through that anger, it's going to now either use its horn or use its foot. So we're going to learn foot through a dimyon, since it's kavanah lahazik, through a dimyon, right? And really, all the toldos are that way. So the Rush explains, according to the Rif, it's very strange that this should be an or in the first place. How could you say that the toldos of nezikin at all are like tumah, b'chlal?
So what's really saying is that the question really is not a good question either.
It says terrible.
The question is, are the toldos kiyotzaben or not kiyotzaben? If they would not be kiyotzaben, they wouldn't be a tolda.
Exactly.
Because by tumah you can understand that you could have a tolda that could be different than the av, because it is that way, where the tumah has different halachas than the av has. The rishon of tumah is metame in one way, the sheni of tumah is metame in a different way, so it's not kiyotzaben. But if a tolda of a nezikin is not similar to that, then it's not a tolda.
Right. So there's two different methods of creating toldos. One is the cause, meaning that it's an extension of, like the heat going into the pot. So the tumah, you had the av tumah, that's the real heavy stuff. As it goes into various media, it becomes weaker, and therefore the din changes. Correct?
Right.
You with me? Whereas the nezikin is a question of a dimion. The din can't change. There's no such thing as something less. So, so they're worried about the essential question of how could the Gemara have ever made this memra machalik? How could you say A or B?
Right.
And B is not.
And then the question is, why is bring them to at all then?
Exactly. Tum is not shaykh b'chlal.
Right.
Now, a deeper analysis. I mean, this stuff is only comes, I mean, I've been involved in this a long time, so I mean, I'm very sensitive to it. But a deeper analysis is what we just really started with, which is it's a contradiction between saying, remember, A or B and A and B, right? The Havemin was A or B, and the answer was A and B. So we said that they're all, the Meforshim, I mean, the Rif and the Rush don't understand that. How could it be A and B? Right? But the question of A or, A or B, can't be B at all, right? In the end of the Gemara, we're going to see a case of B. It's very interesting. The case is Chetzi Nezek Svaros. What happens? The animal's foot hits a stone, then the stone shoots out from being hit by the foot, stepped on, and it breaks a kli. That's called Svaros, a rock. So that really is the second type, okay? But that happens to be Halacha Moshe Sinai. Okay. In other words,
right.
You understand? But that is like Tumah, because it's not that the foot directly steps on the kli. It's that the energy from the foot goes into the rock, and the rock hits the kli. So that's a declining type of energy. That's really like Tumah. But that case, I mean, it's very interesting when you learn. I'm giving you a precursor. Just very interesting when you learn the Gemara that the Gemara says everything is learned through Dimyan, and it can't be like Tumah, and then it comes out Allah Moshe Sinai that you pay Chetzi Nezek Yisrael.
Right.
Okay, but anyway, it's very interesting in the analysis. When you do a slow analysis of this, then you begin to get into the deeper issues here going on and the deeper meaning, really, what's going on. But a lot of people, because of this kasha that there's no real shaykhs to a Tumah type of Tolda, some people say that, which is the Rush explaining the Riv, that it's not a real serious question. It's only a matter that the Gemara now is going to explain all the others told us. But okay, so we went a little far afield, but we started from Aleph Beit. We said this is a Memra Merubin Yanim, and we said that the answer, a Memra Merubin Mechalik type, A or B, and we noticed that the Teretz was a Merubin Yanim of the and type. And we said, hey, what went on between these two things? And then we just discussed why it's even Shayach. Okay. Anyway, that's the way the clear analysis should be done. Okay, and then you understand what people are talking about. That's for sure. Okay, so we'll stop here.